Hey guys, Darren here again from Global Garage. So let's continue off from our last video where we opened up the PS2 FAT, completely disassembled it and got it ready for gaming again. Basically, it's, these things are old. This was, I think it built around about the year 2000 and it's now 2016. So this was full of dirt, dust and junk, and I just wanted to give it a complete service before using it. So on to today's video, which is running games off a hard drive internally. Sorry. If you look at the back of the old PS2s, you've got this big slot at the back, and that's where we can slot in a PS2 network adapter. So this is a genuine Sony one. It's got both the Ethernet port on the back, and it's also got a hard disk 40-pin IDE connector internally. Now you can buy cheaper Chinese ones which don't have the Ethernet port, which is fine, that's a network port. To be honest, you don't really need network. What that does is later connect to gaming servers online. Now, the original PlayStation ones from Sony, they're long gone. Sony only supports PS3 and PS4, I believe, these days. The old PS2, I think, is a bit unloved, but there are third-party servers online that still allow you to play games with friends and so forth. So the only other reason you'd want a network port is to transfer files and games and stuff to the unit over your network just at home. And I've got that, I could do it, but it's a bit slow, and I'd rather just copy the files manually to the hard disk or SD card. It's just a bit quicker. So get a Chinese one. You can pick these up. Like a genuine one's going to cost you a few bucks, maybe like 20 to 30 bucks. A cheaper Chinese one, like a copy, it doesn't have the Ethernet port, so I guess, sorry, that was the point of that little ramble. You don't need it. The Chinese ones don't come with it. They've just got a connector here, and it's probably all you need. You can get them for maybe like 15 bucks. If you can get one with a SATA port here instead of IDE, and SATA looks like that, just a standard SATA port, and you can just then plug that straight into your PC with a USB cable. That's what I would go for. They're a little bit harder to find, but the original was IDE, because back in the day, 99, the year 2000, 2001, that was the hard drive connector standard, and I've still got one of those old drives floating about, this old Seagate 80 gigabyte drive. It spins at 7200, so it's quite fast, for what it was in the day. Looking at the date code of this thing, that's 06485, and I've looked that up. It was built around June 06, this one, so quite late. But anyway, you need yourself an old-fashioned drive like this, which you can pick up off the internet really easily, just off eBay or something. 80 gigs, you can get them a little bit bigger, but they're generally only about that size, which is tiny by today's standards. But you know what, for hosting ISO games, you can really fit a lot of games on this size. Personally, I just use an SD card, but for the exercise today, we're going to do both. So that would just plug in like so, like that. IDE connects, power connects, and this connector goes to the unit, to the console, and that's how it feeds it power and data. That would just get installed simply on the back. You just slide the whole thing in, push it down, make sure it seats properly, and you just do up the screws to anchor that properly. But that's all fine, and I'm gonna do that today. But what I prefer to do, I'll just take that one off. I prefer to use a good old SD card. So this is actually a micro SD inside a holder, but that's fine. You just need an SD size. This one's a Transcend 16 gigabyte class 10. So 16 gig, that's all I'm using today, class 10. Faster is better. You can use whatever size you want, really. Just limits the amount of games you can hold. I find 16 pretty good, but if I was to buy a new one today, I'd probably go 32 or 64 gig and get a class 10, or the fastest class you can get, basically. The class 4 would be okay, but if you're going to do the exercise of SD, you may as well get it quite fast. So then what you need to adapt this to the back of this, we're basically trying to do this. We're trying to marry up this technology to that technology. So if vastly different. So what you need to do is get yourself some adapters, and I'll post a link to these below this video. But basically you need this little adapter, which is an SD card to 44 pin. So the smaller side is actually 44, there's actually more pins, and the larger side is 40 pin. And 40 pins what we have over here. So what we need to do is just one step at a time. 40 pin IDE, this is female, into 40 pin IDE male. So they call it, you know, male and female for obvious reasons. You can work that out. So 40 pin to 40 pin, down to 44 pin, and then 44 pin to the SD adapter. So that's how I've done it. There are a few different ways to do this, but that seems to work really well. Just make sure you got to focus on that. I think you do. If you flip it over, just a bunch of surface mount chips just to run the conversion. And there's power here. You'll notice the power is a standard Molex connector, just 2 pins, you know, probably just needs 5 volts. So what happens is this will connect to the IDE port on the back of the PS2 adapter, like that. It goes that direction. So if you actually look really closely at these things, one of the pins is missing. That's part of the design. You've got to take note of that orientation because they can go both ways. Some of these old connectors used to have a blank panel there, so you know which way it goes, but this one doesn't. In case you're wondering, the blank pin goes towards the bottom of this adapter, so my power's on the opposite side to that. So that's how I've worked that out. That works. And then the power just simply connects onto the Molex like that. That's a fully functional unit, basically like that. That's all you really need. It just tells the box that you've got a hard disk attached and it's good to go. So that would then get plugged in. Just plug that in just as normal, and that seats down on the connector, and PlayStation doesn't know any different. It just thinks it's a normal hard disk. So that's that step. That's your physical sort of setup. While I'm talking about the physical adapters, I'll just take you one more step, which is with the SD card, you need to get it onto your PC somehow. There's 1,000 adapters you can use to get that onto your PC. I also picked up this one off the same seller. I just bought it off eBay, and that's simply SD to SATA. So I think it's important to use an adapter when reading and writing these files, because if you just plug that SD straight into your PC, like into the memory card slot, it's going to treat it as a removable device, whereas we want to treat it as a hard disk. So it's best to use one of these adapters, and then we can present it to your computer as a proper hard disk, not a USB removable device. I think that's a factor you need to think about. So then you just grab yourself a standard SATA adapter cable, plug that in, and on the other end is just USB. So when you've got 2 cables coming off these things, the skinny one's power and the fat one's power and data, you get both. So it just gives it more power, or more current really. So blue is USB 3.0. This is quite a new adapter, but a USB 2.0 one will be fine. This card is actually, if you look down there, it's actually, it's actually a USB 2.0 compatible one. So I just plugged this into 2.0. I tried it in 3.0 and it actually didn't work. So you don't need a driver. I've got Windows 10 64-bit in front of me. Just plugged it straight in, USB 2, bang, off it went. So that's how we connect everything physically. And if you're interested, the old IDE drive, you can plug that straight into your PC if you have an old IDE ribbon connector, but I don't anymore. So I picked up this years ago. This is an IDE and also SATA, both 40 and 44 pin adapter, and the other end's USB. So I'll just chuck this straight on. I'll just go like that. You can actually see there's a notch on the top of that. There's a notch on the top of the drive, and you can see the way they connect. So that'll go there. And then I've got a external Molex power feed for that drive. You can actually hear that fire up. So that's just got a little power brick, standard power coming in, this adapter, and a Molex power adapter. You can find these, are really easy to find, but I won't go into too much detail on that. So basically, that's your physical setup. You're gonna need all that sort of stuff. It's a little bit of mucking around, but it's pretty easy once you sort of, you know, work out what you're doing. Okay, so this one's plugged in. I may as well start with the physical big drive. It's powered up. It's got its data connection, and I'm just going to reach over and plug this into a USB 2 port, and that's going to connect to my PC. And then we'll use some software to read and write. You can hear that. We're going to use some software to read and write the images, and you know, format this for PS2. It's not a standard formatted drive. It's Windows won't natively recognize it. You need a utility, which we'll get to in a minute. And the same with this, you know, the SD. You treat these exactly the same. So this one connects to the PC at the moment. I'll do this one next. Same or very similar interface, and present it to the software in the same way, and we can just deal with the software end of things. So that's the hardware setup. I'll switch over to my screen recording now. We'll run through some software and then come back to the machine, plug it all in and fire it up and see how we go. Something I forgot to mention is the way you present these old IDE drives to the machine. So this is all plugged in and powered up still, but if you look at the table on these drives here, in the old days you used to have to set a jumper. It's called a little plastic piece that sits on these pins right next to the power adapter, and this table tells you what it does. So you've got, you know, master, slave, cable select, and that's a capacity limitation. I won't go into all the details of how all that works, but for this exercise, I've had to set my drive to the master position, which is the jumper on the far left. You can see over there, and sometimes other people on the internet have said you have to leave the jumper completely off. So just take it off, and that defaults to the slave. So slave is off. So to show what that means, if you look at the end of the drive, the jumpers are down there. I think you can see that. I should have shown you this before. So you see how I've got my power here and the pins. I've got the jumper set. That little piece of plastic is set to the far set of pins away from the power adapter. So if we go back to here, mine is set on the far pins away from the power adapter, and that's the master position. So I had to set mine to master to get it to work. I started off running it as slave and cable select. It didn't work. So if you get to the next point of this video, which is the software, and you can't detect your drive and you're using one of these old physicals, try the different jumper positions, and you know, each brand of drive might behave a little bit differently. Okay, so we've got the big mechanical hard disk plugged in. That's all detected, and seems to have popped up in Windows. So to get images onto the drive, all we need to do is first of all open the tool Winhiip. So I've got this Winhiip tool here. I've downloaded it. I'll post a path of this in the description. So you just want to run it as administrator. So if you run it as a normal user built into Windows, it won't work. So make sure you do a right click, run as administrator, and that will be fine. And here it is here. So Winhiip, Windows HDL Image Installation Program, Winhiip. So you can get it from these guys, or you can just follow the link in my video. I'll just move it over to this side a little bit. So it pops up, you know, I've got version 1.7.6. It just pops up like this. You need to select the drive that you're working with. So, you know, select drive. So we come over here to the select drive button, and we're presented with two options. The large one there, that's my internal SSD. Mine's a 120 gig SSD. Yeah, just don't pick your boot drive, pick the next one. This is the 80 gig external we plugged in before. You know, the formatted size is always a little bit lower, so make sure you select the right one, and it's going to come up with this error. So the selected hard drive does not contain a valid PS2 master boot record. So click OK, and we need to format it. So if we format the drive with the correct settings, it'll be OK. I always pick HD loaded 28-bit. Toxic OS, that's something else. I won't get into that today. I'd just recommend just stick with HD loader 28-bit, or if you've got a really large drive, I think the 48-bit option will present itself, and you can get you can format large drives. So I just stick to 28-bit, click OK. Are you certain? Yes. The format process can be reversed. Yes. Okay. Look, just double check up the top here, get the correct drive, and off we go. So that'll erase into a format of the drive, and it'll set the master boot record to be a PS2 compatible one. Okay, the HDL settings partition has been created. That's fine. And then we're off and running. So it's all detected now. So that was just a fresh drive. Plugged it in and formatted it. So if you have any troubles with that little step, I'd recommend you get a utility called Mini Partition Tool, I think it is. Yeah, Mini Partition Tool. It's a partition sort of wizard utility, and it runs on Windows, on Linux, on Mac, runs on anything, and it can just clean up your drive and delete partitions and reformat them and clean up master boot records and stuff. So if any trouble, Mini Partition Tool Wizard will prepare your drive, sort of get it back to a blank state, and then this process will work fine. So once you're up and running, then all these buttons here come to life. You could go into utilities and do a scan if you're worried about the drive integrity. You can rebuild it. There you go. You can flick to 48-bit if you've got a really large drive. I think that's what that means. Toxic OS for other functionality, and a few more settings. But we're just going to leave it at the basic sort of HD loader 24. It seems to work really well. So the next stage is we've got some ISOs down here. I've got these mounted on a NAS, on a remote volume, and they're just ready to go. They're just files I've obtained. We've got Gradius, a shooter, a Prince of Persia one, Snoopy versus the Red Baron, Vampire Knights, and Final Fantasy X. So we're just going to go ahead and drop them on. Just know your path to your ISOs. I've just got it mapped to a P drive and this folder here. So you just know where your files are. So we've come back to the Winhiip and we go add image files, and then it's going to pop up with this browse dialog, add images, and this is how we have to browse again. So yeah, go back to where we were just at, and let's add some files. So Snoopy versus the Red Baron, ISO, that'll do. Add another one. Let's say Final Fantasy, add image, Prince of Persia, 3-in-1 image, that one is. Yeah, it's a custom sort of ISO, that one. What else we got? Add image, Vampire Knight, that'll do. And these are all ISOs. Go and do another couple. Gradius. Let's try Gradius. This is in bin queue format, so let's just try that one. And also, there's the shooter, yeah, 1945. So just tag up all your files. You just select them like that, one at a time. You might be able to select multiple at once. I haven't actually tried that. And then you just click start. So, this is coming off my NAS. Yeah, those with a keen eye will see that my NAS is called Redaxian. I am a Sega fan, and it's pretty obvious, so that explains that. So then you click start. You just tagged up all your files, click start, and it'll go ahead and write them. And there they go. So, this old mechanical's running at 20 megasecond. It might go a bit faster, but yeah, it's not the fastest thing. There you go, 22. So I'll let that run, and I'll come back when that's completed, and we'll do the SD card as well. Okay, so that's all finished, but yeah, we've got a little error here saying some images did not install correctly. So don't get too excited. It's not the end of the world. yeah, let's just check it out. So it looks like Gradius. So let's go OK. Yeah, that one didn't come through either. So I think what happens is some of the BinQ format ones don't import cleanly. You've got to name them. So the ISO ones drop on nicely. Let's just select that and click Edit Image Settings and see what that one is. 945. Okay, and then we'll add. Let's just see what happens when we add the Gradius manually. Q file. Start. Yeah, so it pops up with a naming prompt, and I think that's the error. So if you've got ISO files, that'll all just work. If you've got bin queues, I think you just have to do them one at a time and accept the name that it says up here, or go ahead and change it. So I think that's all that means. So if I just try that one manually, yeah, so that installed fine. So yeah, like, I don't know, it seems like I wouldn't say it's a bug, but it's just something to be aware of. ISO files are just easier to work with, but BinQ, they're fine as well, but take the extra step. So that's something just to be aware of. Okay, so what I'll do now is this is all ready to go. That's all we needed to do. Plug the drive in, presents to Windows, fire up Winhiip as administrator, select your ISOs, chuck them on, and we're good to go. So I'll just exit out of that. I'll disconnect my drive, just slightly out of screen, eject drive, I'll unplug it, and I'll now plug in the SD card, and we'll do the same sort of thing. So just bear with me for 2 seconds. Okay, so I've just plugged in the SD card through the adapter, and that's presented up as an external hard drive. So that all looks fine. So let's try this again. Let's right click Winhiip, run as administrator, do that, select drive, and we're going to see a different drive now. There you go. That's my 16 gig SD. You know, it presents obviously a little bit smaller. And there's our master boot record error. Let's do a format. Quick, HD loaded 28-bit. Are you sure? Yes. Definitely got the right drive. Nice and fast. Yes, yes, yes. All right, so that's all set. And let's chuck some images on. So add files. Add images. You know, let's do a BinQ then. Let's just go with this guy. Yeah, we'll just do one at a time. Yeah, there you go. Oh, I called that 42, didn't I? Oops. Oh. Yeah, not as fast the hard disk actually, but okay. The images. I've got some others over here actually on the C drive. The suffering. Let's try that one. Add image. Let's just give that a bit of a rename. Let's call it the suffering. And we'll let that write. So I'll let this skip forward, and we'll come back in a sec. Okay, so that's about to finish up. And there it goes. So it's just finishing it off, and that one's all done. Right, so we've written just 2 today to the stick. It's used about 7 gig, so you know, there's a bit of room there. Yeah, I'd probably get a much larger SD if I was you guys, and the more modern ones are faster as well. So you know, just because they say class 10, sometimes they're not really that quick. Just do a bit of research and find out which one is actually fast, and I'd go with that one. Alright, so that's the 2 drives loaded with images. I'll just exit. So in order to run ISOs off a hard disk or an SD card, you need an exploit. You need a way to boot the PS2 and then run custom software. And we're going to use free Mcboot to do that. And a free Mcboot is available off the internet for free. I'll post a link to that in this video. And it comes preloaded with a lot of these sort of tools already. I've had to customize the tools a little bit to get this to work the way I want it, but basically it's all pretty much preloaded in the package that you download. This one here is Winhiip. That's what we used earlier for the hard disk formatting and writing the files. And I'll just quickly go through them if you're interested, just to tell you what they do, because you might see these and just wonder. So ESR patcher is it's a bit outdated now, I think. What that does is patch an ISO file to pretend it's a DVD, and that way an unmodified PS2 will launch the ISO and think it's a video, but just play the game. You typically only use that if you want to write to CDs and DVDs. So we're not using that. We're just using ISOs on the drive. So that's sort of irrelevant for us. The GSM tool is a really amazing little tool. It forces video modes that the game was never meant to run in. So let's say a game is meant to run at 480i interlaced. You can force it to run at 480p or 720p or 576 or even right up to 1080i, I believe. I don't think you can run 1080p over component cables, but I could be wrong. So 1080i I've tested, and the games look amazing. So we'll do that in a second. HDL loader, I think it's HD loader. I think that's a bit out of date. I think that's for copying ISO files across the network and copy them to your PS2. So I haven't actually used that one. I'm not too familiar with it. This is the one you'll use a lot. This is Open PS2 Loader, version 0.9.3. I highly recommend this. I had to upgrade the version that came on the free Mcboot tool to this one because this is a newer version and it's just amazing. It does so many things. If we just drill into it, you get all these pre-packaged versions with different tools included. And in a nutshell, this is the tool that will launch your game. So this is what we need. This is the main tool. And it's the different versions I won't really go into, but you can see the GSM tool we talked about 2 seconds ago. That's bundled into this version in the menu, so that's a really good option. PS2 RD, I think, is a remote debugger, but it's also a cheating sort of tool to run cheats on the game, so you get both tools there on that one. VMC is a virtual memory card. That's really handy as well, so you can, instead of running physical memory cards, you can just write virtual ones to the drive, which is a great feature, and I've used that. It's excellent. And this one here has all three tools bundled in one. I've been playing with this one here, so if you go into the folder, that's the Open PS2 Loader plus the tools .elf. So all the executable files are .elf, and that's what we sort of boot and run with. So I'll just jump back out of that, and that one's a bit obsolete. I don't use that one. uLaunch is the basic tool that comes on Mcboot. As the sort of name sort of suggests, it boots ELF files. So all these tools and all the custom homebrew out there are all .elf, and this is the main tool to launch that. So this tool is on the main menu. You launch it, and then you can run all your other tools from there. So that's pretty much it, guys. So I just wanted to run through that. These are just the zip files that they came in. I've extracted them. There's a lot more, but they're the ones I've been playing with. But yeah, Open PS2 Loader, that's the one. You need that. That is just magical. So, all right, on to the next step. Okay, so we're over at the TV testing area. I've got the PS2 plugged in. I've got a controller plugged into the front, just in here. I've got the free Mcboot memory card. I think you can see that. I've got USB stick just underneath. Now this is just temporary, the USB. It just holds the ELF files that I was talking about before, but ultimately we really need to copy them to here, and you can do that from the tools on free Mcboot. So we're going to copy them up. The tools allow us to do that, but today I'm just going to leave it there because I'm kind of testing versions and so forth. So you'll probably do that as well. Free Mcboot, USB, controller. I've got the hard disk mounted in. That's the fat one we just did before, the big hard disk. Just power, and I've got composite, sorry, not composite, I've got a component video plugged in. Now, I highly recommend component video because you can run resolutions much higher than any other standard on this model. Over here's RGB SCART. This will support RGB SCART, and it's great for the light gun games. I use that myself. But that's, you know, different type of TV. Just another type kind of TV over there for that kind of stuff. But on the modern LCDs, use component. So let's fire this up. Yeah, those with a keen eye will see that's a GD-EMU. It's the same kind of project, so it's basically you know, an SD card will run in a Dreamcast. So that's a project for another day. But let's come back to this one. So let's fire it up. Powered it up, and I'll just sit back a little bit. Look at my TV there, it's detected 576i at 50 Hz, which is the standard for a PAL console. And then we've booted up. So we've got free Mcboot version 1.94. I think 1.95 is already out. I'm filming this late March 2016, so I'm sure there's a new version out. But this 1.94 is really good. It's been excellent, so highly recommend that one. So I won't go through the complete free Mcboot menu system because there's a lot here. This has been customized already. You can emulate other systems as well, which is really cool. But what you need to know is uLaunch is the basic tool to fire this thing up. So to start that, just push X on that. Those two bars of light you see down the screen or before, that's just the lights in the background, so don't worry about that. So uLaunch comes up like that. Now I'm using 4.42D. I'm sure you can find a newer version by the time you watch this. And then it comes up like this. So you've got just, yeah, don't worry about that config file error. Just push file browser, which is the circle, and it takes you to this screen and the directory information and some commands down there. So this is a file manager basically for free Mcboot. This allows us to do all sorts of cool stuff, but what we're going to just do now is launch some ELF files. So these entries, you can see that I've got the one in red is highlighted, so as I move that you can see it. Memory card slot 0, memory card slot 1, so there's 2 memory cards there. Hard disk drive 0, that's the hard disk we put in. CD file system, that's the disk if we had one, which we're trying to get away from. Mass storage is the USB stick we've got mounted. Host is a network adapter, and miscellaneous, I'm not even really sure what that is, but I don't use it. So we're interested in mass today because we've got our ELF file sitting on the USB. Ultimately, we're going to copy it to memory card 0, and we're going to set up the menu and probably a default launch so that we don't have to do any of this. It's just going to boot straight into the tool that we need. But I'll pick mass for right now. I'm just going to push circle on that because circle is okay. Comes up, it reads the USB stick, and there's all sorts of folders here. Don't worry about them. I've just been messing about with different versions. The one we need is, you know, the Open PS2 Loader 9.3. So we'll go into that. I'm just going to push circle, and here's all the versions I showed you before. So you get the standard one with the GSM video encoder, and, you know, packages of different tools. So let me fire up this one, the VMC and GSM. That's the one I like to use. So you pick the file, and that's a .elf. So this is the example. I'd be copying this file to my Mcboot stick, and I'd edit the front menu to have this as an option, and to be honest, I'd set it to default. I just want it to boot. As soon as I push the PlayStation, I want it to boot this file. That's what I'd ultimately like. I'll be doing that. So it fires it up. You know, so this is cool, right? You're turning your PS, you got it all configured, and it should run this and present you with that screen right there. At the top it just says apps, so we'll just push left to go to the next one, and that's hard drive games. So that's what I'd want. You turn the machine on, you want it to go straight to here, no messing about with anything else. So that's it. Like, you know, they're the games we loaded. I'll fire one up. Let's just start with Gradius, that'll do. It's a USA game. So this is actually a really good test of the video mode. So yeah, we'll do this one. We'll do Gradius. So if you look at the bottom, we've got X for run, which is just default, accept the standards and go. And triangle is game settings. So I'll just show you game settings quickly. We've got all these modes across the top. I've never had to change one, but if you want to know what they do, you just look at the bottom right hand corner, like accurate reads, and as you move through them, they're going to it's going to tell you in that bottom right hand corner what they do. So, you know, if you're playing a game and it doesn't work, just have a read on the internet what you might need to do, and if you have to set a mode, then that's what you have to do. Going down to the GSM tool. So this is the extra functionality you get in this version that I was telling you about. Just push X to open the GSM tool, and we can force video modes here. So it's off by default. If we just turn that on, video mode NTSC, push X on that, and you can just cycle through all these modes. You know, 480p, 576p, 480p at 60 Hertz, and so on. Like, you get some really cool modes here. 1080i at 60 is a good one. 1080i at 60 non-interlaced, that's a really weird selection, but that's pretty cool. I might test it out another time. 1080p at 60. I don't know if we can run that over component cables, but we'll find out. VGA, so if you've got a monitor plugged in or a CRT that supports VGA, I've got one. I've got a CRT, a Luva Ergo something that supports VGA, so I can run 480p at 60 Hertz on that, and that's unreal for light gun games. So that's what I do, high res light gun. If you got low res light gun like 240p, you just run it on a standard CRT like over there, and you run it with RGB SCART. And then you take a feed off that to get your light gun signal. It's a different story though. But so yeah, there's plenty of modes. They're really cool. So look, let's just go right back to the start. Right back to the start. I'll go escape. In fact, I'll put that onto just PAL. And I'll turn it off. Sorry, let's go back in here and turn that off. Shouldn't do anything. Go OK. So that's off. And then this is the virtual memory card slot. So this is the extra functionality you get with this little version of the file I was talking about. You get GSM, plus you get this. And all you do is you go in here and set up your memory card, and it saves having to physically put another card in. I've only got one. I could put one in, but you can just use virtual ones and they just write files to the hard disk, which is really cool. So without any more delay, I'll just go to save and then X to launch Gradius. So this will launch in standard res, whatever the game naturally wants to launch, which is 480i at 60 Hertz. Now loading. Let's just check the memory card, and here's the Konami splash screen. And off we go. So that's all 480i. It's pretty good. So it looks pretty good actually. Yeah, like I'll just quickly fire it up, and then we'll change modes. So that delay is coming off the hard disk, but it's not too bad. Yeah, so this is pretty good. I've just got one hand here, so I can't really do too much. But yeah, you get the idea. Looks pretty good. So let me just do a quick reset. Okay, so I just reset it. I had to put the camera down for a second. You know, it's both lefts, both rights, start and select at the same time. We'll just reboot the system back to the start. I think that's actually a standard feature of PS2. So, okay, I'm just going right back through it. Like, it does a full reboot, so we have to relaunch the tool. So you can see why adding all this as a default would be much nicer. So saves you doing this every time. Okay, so we're almost there. So I think what I'll do this time, that ran at 480i, 60 Hertz. Let's give it a go and turn it up a bit. So we'll push the triangle to go back into the menu. Go down to GSM. Turn that on. It's an NTSC game, so this is going to be interesting. We'll force it to go into a mode that it doesn't want to run in. 480p at 60 Hertz is pretty tempting. That'll look really good. So how about we try, let's try 1080. 1080i interlaced. That should work at 60 Hertz, should work quite well. FMV skip on, click OK, it's saved. and save changes. So the good thing about this is once you've set that up once, you can just boot the machine and come straight back into the game, and it's going to remember the settings, which is really cool. So 1080i at 60, now loading. I'm just going to push start here on the controller to skip that video just in case I try to launch. Some of these intro videos can screw it up, so just stand, there you go. If you get to this screen, you're good to go. Push start, game start. But yeah, start button as they're booting is a really good tip. So yeah, look at this. We're running at 1080i, a game that was never designed to, which is really cool. Great feature. Really got to give it to the guys that code all these utilities up. You know, it's pretty amazing. All right, so there we go. If I just pause that for a second, and I go to my TV remote just to check and push info. Yeah, so there you go. 19 by 20 by 1080i at 60 hertz. So that's it's pretty cool, isn't it? You know, so much more detail to the image. It looks fantastic. There's a few lights glaring behind me that sort of screwed the screen up, but you know, it's pretty damn good. It's very good actually. So you can just play around with it. Try any resolution you want. Just, you know, pushing start as the game boots is a good tip, but otherwise it's pretty easy. That's all you do. And enjoy your games. So what I'll do now is I'll quickly, I'll physically swap over the hard disk for the SD card. Alright, so let's put this SD card in. So if we turn the old PS around, it's a bit hard to do this with one hand, but I'll give it a go. Pull the drive out, try and pop that off. There we go. And let's put the SD card on. It goes that way. And we chuck the power on and just refit it. Okay, I think that's in. We won't screw it on, we'll just live on the edge and fire it up. Just grab the controller. So it's coming up as, you know, 576.50, just the standard mode. Nothing's changed there. It's a bit hard to do this with one hand. uLaunch. So let's see if it works. Grab the file browser. Go down to our tool. Fire it up. Okay. So this is going to test if it's going to read the SD card, and there we go. 1942, and yeah, so I did rename that wrong, didn't I? It should be 1945. Suffering the PAL. So, you know, when these games are called the Suffering or the something, I just tend to put them the other way around, just so that sorts it alphabetically, and PAL if I know it's a PAL game. But so let's fire up the Suffering then. I'll just go into the game settings quickly. Yeah, let's tweak it while we're here. What have we got? Let's go up a bit to, so it's PAL, right? So let's just tempted to try the big res, but I won't on this demo. It'll probably fail. Yeah, let's just go 720, just something we haven't tried. I like to always turn that crap on. Go okay. Now I think I've run out of space on my free Mcboot, so this is a really good time to set a virtual memory card. Name, backspace is that one. Let's just call it. Let's just call it 2. One hand. That's about all I need to do. That's fine. Okay, create. And you're done. That's it. Save changes. And let's fire it up. 720, 60 hertz. So that's pretty nice. Yeah, like that actually booted pretty quick, didn't it? And there we go, there's the menu. So, you know, play around with the modes, but that looks like it read the memory card slot fine. It's just if it doesn't read one, this game will prompt for it. So that was really cool. That all works. And you know, the reses, look, you know, most of the games will work at any res you sort of throw at it. But to be honest, I haven't tested 1080p. That's something I will test. And even the 1080i non-interlaced, which doesn't really make sense, but I'll give that a go as well. So that's it. So that's it for today, guys. You know, that's the kind of mod done, if you can call it a mod. I'm pretty happy with it. It's it all works, and the SD is nice and fast. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.